Hello, I'm Dr. Seiichiro Abe, Endoscopic Division, National Cancer Center Hospital, Tokyo, Japan. Today, I'm pleased to introduce our review article entitled Approach for Stricture Prevention Following Esophageal Endoscopic Resection, published in Gastrointestinal Endoscopy. Endoscopic resection of extensive esophageal region has become more common, as endoscopic resection technique and equipment has also developed. Specifically, endoscopic submucosal dissection, or ESD, allows us to perform outward resection of esophageal region regardless of size and location. However, extensive esophageal endoscopic resection can cause post-operative esophageal stricture, which cause dysphagia and requiring multiple endoscopic dilation for resolution. The aim of this article was to comprehensively review the current treatment and innovative approach to prevent esophageal stricture after widespread endoscopic resection of esophageal regions. We performed a systemic electronic literature search of article published in PubMed until 2016, which reported method and technique for the prevention of esophageal stricture after widespread endoscopic resection in humans. A total of 21 original articles and case series were identified. The first approach was stepwise endoscopic resection. Forsompas et al. Recently reported that stepwise complete endoscopic resection of various epsilon in short segment bladder to esophagus is technically feasible and safe. This method could reduce the risk of esophageal stricture to 1% and maybe is reasonable for localized burns, high-grade dysplasia, and adenocarcinoma. However, this strategy is only applicable for short-segment bladder esophagus and is not recommended for widespread esophageal squamous cell carcinoma because local recurrence can develop after multiple piecemeal resection, and subsequent endoscopic resection is technically very difficult due to fibrosis. The second approach is a prophylactic mechanical dilation. Some studies indicated that prophylactic endoscopic balloon dilatation might be effective in decreasing the incidence and time to resolution of post-ESD esophageal strictures. However, they didn't prevent the stricture formation in most cases, and multiple sessions of ABD had to be eventually performed. Therefore, ABD alone was thought to be insufficient to prevent esophageal stricture following wider endoscopic resection, and an alternative approach was recommended. Also, prophylactic self-expanding endoscopic metal stent placement has been used to prevent post-ESD stricture. However, results remain inconclusive. The third approach we reported is steroid therapy. Glucocorticoids can inhibit inflammation and reduce the formation of fibrotic connective tissue. Local transdermal injection as a base of mucosal defect and oral prednisone have been used or reported to prevent esophageal stricture after extensive esophageal ESD. Several studies of both methods demonstrated that post-ESD esophageal stricture occurs significantly less frequently in the study group compared with the control group, and the number of the ABD required for resolution of stricture was also significantly lower in the steroid group. Both approaches were effective and cheaper than repeated endoscopic balloon dilatation. Although there is some risk of perforation after the injection and a systemic adverse event following oral administration, steroid therapy is commonly used and considered acceptable as a current standard preventive method for esophageal stricture following widespread esophageal resection. Lastly, we summarize some innovative approaches that are being developed for stricture prevention after widespread endoscopic resection in the esophagus. Polyglycolic acid and carboxymethylcellulose, a biodegradable suture stiffener, has been used applied to cover wound in surgery. This seed has been endoscopically applied on the mucosal defect to prevent esophageal stricture after ESD of those esophageal lesions, and some studies show the favorable outcomes after ESD. While these are likely effective without any adverse event, the precise cellular mechanism of both PGA and CMC seeds remain unknown, and this approach has been tested in only small cases. In addition, Endoscopic application is technically a bit challenging, and both seeds can be easily disturbed by subsequent oral intake of food. So another clinical study was an additional technical improvement focused on ensuring adherence of the seed to the ESD site for annotate to confirm the preventive phase method. The last approach is that of the autologous cell seed transplantation. Oak et al. Developed an innovative approach using an endoscopic transplantation of cultured autologous oral mucosal epsilon cell seed. They biopsied the patient buccal mucosa, and oral epsilon cell seed were isolated from the tissue. The epsilon seed were then seeded onto the special culture insert. Autologous oral mucosa epsilon cell seed were transplanted with endoscopic forceps or a dedicated device onto the mucosal defect immediately after ASD. The pilot study shows the autologous cell seed were successfully transplanted to mucosal defect in all 10 cases, and the complete re-epsilonization occurred within a median time of 3 weeks. No patient developed dysphagia, stricture, or other adverse event following endoscopic procedure, except for one patient who underwent a full circumferential ESD. While the process of cell seed transplantation is time-consuming and expensive, this application of regenerative medicine can offer an innovative solution and prevent post-ESD esophageal stricture in the future. In conclusion, corticosteroid therapy, particularly local transdermal injection, is currently the most commonly applied strategy to prevent esophageal stricture after extensive endoscopic resection, reducing the incidence of stricture and the number of violations needed for stricture resolution. A multi-center prospective randomized controlled trial, JACOB 1217, which aimed to compare the preventive efficacy of local transdermal injection and oral prednisone medication, will have to rigorously evaluate the appropriate approach. As a tissue-saving method with PZS seed or CMC seed, and autologous cell seed transplantation are innovative strategy to prevent post-ESD stricture. However, several issues such as endoscopic delivery, cost-effectiveness, and widespread use needed to be resolved in the future. Thank you so much for your kind attention.